A very good afternoon to you. Thanks for choosing Newzroom Afrika. Let's start off your sport with the Olympic news. And 2016 Olympic bronze sevens rugby medalists, South Africa, will begin their campaign in Paris later this afternoon against Ireland. The man behind South Africa's only medal at the Games in the sport, Powell, he left the sevens team to take up a post as Sharks Director of Rugby. He joins us now. A very good afternoon and welcome to Newzroom Afrika. Good to be chatting to you. Do you have a sense of a fear of missing out now that the games are underway and the team are about to get their campaign against Ireland and then later on against New Zealand underway later today?
Hello, thanks for having me. Yeah, listen, I think it's weird to sit on this side in a big event like the Olympics. I mean, it's the biggest sporting event in the world, and yeah, obviously supporting the boys. Already started watching the games. I think Australia played Samoa at 3:30 this afternoon, so I've been watching all the games since then. So really excited for the BlitzBokke when they play Ireland at 5:30 today, and obviously fully behind them and supporting them, and hope that they can go all the way and do better than what we did in Rio in 2016 when we won the bronze medal.
How well placed is that hope if you just consider that South Africa had to go through an entire repechage tournament in order to actually be present in Paris to compete in the men's sevens competition? They had, I suppose, a really, really tough season, winning the first tournament and then, unfortunately, not being able to perform thereafter.
Yeah, listen, I think for me, they're in a perfect spot. And I said to Philip Snyman as well before the repechage tournament, that for them is perfect preparation for the Olympics. Obviously, a tournament that they needed to win to get themselves in the Olympics. And that's exactly what the Olympics is all about. There's actually not a second or third place that's worth going to the Olympics. If you want to go there and you want to win a medal, you want to win a gold medal. So we've done it with the bronze in 2016, and I think if they can go on and win it, it will be great. And that preparation that they got in that repechage tournament is, for me, an ideal opportunity for them, because normally when the Olympics is about 3 months after the World Series, we always struggle to get quality teams to play in the build-up to that Olympics or to that Commonwealth Games or World Cup. So for me, the fact that they had that repechage is actually the perfect preparation that they could have asked for this Olympics. And I think they're probably going into this Olympics not as the favourites, which always suited the South African teams when they do compete against other position or in tournaments, is to not to have that favourite tag on around their neck is a blessing in disguise.
Let's speak a little bit about that favourites tag, because certainly if you look at a tournament for the BlitzBokke, it's always been the Olympics, which has been a little bit of a banana peel. You guys have 3 times been world champions, won a gold medal at the Commonwealth Games, but at the Olympic Games, it's always been a little bit different. What is it about the sevens competition at the Olympics specifically, where South Africa have gone with high hopes and high expectations and well placed at that, but not been able really to win a gold?
Yeah, then I think for us growing up in South Africa, it was never really about the Olympics. So it almost feels like in South Africa, we don't have that Olympic culture. It's something that we only started to develop, especially in rugby, when we were included for the first time in 2016. So it was more about a Rugby World Cup and 15s rugby. So then for us to be part of it for the first time in 2016 almost started that Olympic culture for us. So where for a team like America or France or all those teams that's been part of the Olympics for such a long time, that Olympic medal is massive for them. And I think we got the recipe right in terms of consistency in a World Series, where we always find ourselves in a final or semi-final, and then at the end of the year we won the World Series. But these once-off tournaments where you need to be successful is a little bit more difficult, and I think we've managed to get it right in 2 Commonwealth Games when we won gold in 2022 and I think in 2014. But unfortunately for the rest of the once-off tournaments, we haven't really gotten it right and managed to win golds in Olympics or in Sevens World Cups.
You mentioned chatting to a man who was your player, won bronze with him at the 2016 Games. He's now leading the team as the coach. What seems to have been the issue in the team that they haven't really been able to click during the Sevens World Series this past season?
Yeah, I think it's again like any system. When there's a few changes and a few players leaving, there's always going to be a bit of a transition and finding their feet again. Although the coaching staff is people that's been part of that the system as players and then came through coaching the academy and then into the senior side, it's always going to be different because they will have a different approach, a different way they want to do things, maybe change up the defensive system a little bit. And it takes a while for the players to adapt to a new coach ways of doing things. So, and I think also the fact that we closed the doors of the academy because of COVID and the financial pressure that SA Sevens was under. Unfortunately, we couldn't get a new intake from 2020 and 2021. So, which means that if somebody left like they did after the World Cup in 2022, then we basically had to start all over with new guys. And I think you could see a guy like Tristan Leitz now only starting to find his momentum and almost spot in a team in the last few tournaments, and he played exceptionally well in the Repechage tournament. So you need that academy to almost blood those youngsters for you in invitational tournaments, so that when they get to the World Series, they have been coached for about a year or 6 months to a year, and then played a few international tournaments. But unfortunately, with the closing of the academy, we didn't have that luxury of those academy boys waiting in line to get the opportunity on the World Series.
Do you see the South African team winning a medal at the Olympic Games?
Yeah, listen, I do back them, and I think for all the reasons that I mentioned, the fact that they had the perfect preparation, they don't carry that favorite tag going into this tournament. So I do believe they can actually surprise some of the teams because nobody is really focusing on South African sevens. It's more Argentina that won the World Series and France with Anton de Pont, that's part of that team, and maybe the Fijis and the New Zealands, but we are flying a little bit under the radar, and I think that can make us actually very dangerous for this Olympic tournament, and hopefully will help us to win a medal at this Olympics.
Oh, we certainly did see what that pressure meant for a team like France at home with Antoine Dupont as the superstar in the 15-man World Cup. Let's speak a little bit about the women's and their hope, because they're not only representing South Africa, but they're also representing the continent.
Yeah, yes, I think with Renfrew Dazel, the coach there, and Cecil Africa as his assistant coach, they made massive strides this year. Obviously, they were part of the World Series, and I think in some of the games they came close to upset the likes of New Zealand or Australia. And I think we are still a little bit behind in terms of where the other teams are, just because we haven't been on the World Series for the last few years, and there's a bit of catch up for us to do in terms of our preparation and the skill levels and the fitness levels and conditioning. But I think we've taken a massive stride this year under the leadership of Renfrew Dazel and his coaching team and his management. And yeah, and again, like I said, in a once-off tournament like this, anything can happen. And one bounce of the ball, one call from the referee that's not going your way, and you can find yourself in trouble. And that can be useful for our South African ladies team. I think they've done well. They've really played well in this World Series. They show a lot of effort every time they go into the field, and you can see that they play with that passion, that they represent South Africa and Africa as a continent. So I think they will proudly represent Africa, and I wish them the best of luck. And I'm almost hoping that they can upset one of the big teams in this Olympics, and I think it's definitely possible.
So our South African women are grouped with Australia, Ireland and Great Britain, but the women's tournament only gets underway after the men's tournament has concluded. Director of Rugby at the Sharks, Neil Powell, thank you so much for chatting to us here on Newzroom Africa. The Sevens Olympic competition gets underway with the men. South Africa, Stephen, will be in action against Ireland later on today at the Stade de France in Saint-Denis, and then later on today against New Zealand in the Sevens competition. I have more sport for you in the next hour.